Good evening. Shindo here. Well, there's some serious business going on in the banks in Europe, in Germany. The Deutsche Bank, major bank, folks, is collapsing in Germany today. Did you know about that? No, of course you didn't know anything about that because you're being primed for the dog and pony show called The Debate tonight. Well, if you care about news that's going to affect you, then you need to subscribe to this channel because I get little tidbits. I just hear a little bit here. It's like a 2-second blurb, and then I actually go and look these things up for you. I look them up, then I read to you the article like I'm about to here. Then I give you some explanation. So this I am doing only so that you get the truth, so that you know what's really going on in the world. The economic collapse is getting closer and closer and closer. It's going to make 2008 look like a walk in the park. This is from The Telegraph. The Deutsche Bank crisis could take Angela Merkel down and the euro. There are some words that make such an unlikely pairing that we find it hard to put them together. Italy and efficiency, for example, or Bake Off and Channel 4, and Germany and banking crisis is another one. Our image of German banks and the German economy as completely rock solid is so strong that it takes a lot to persuade us that they may be in trouble. And yet it has become increasingly hard to ignore the slow motion car crash that is Deutsche Bank, or to avoid the conclusion that something very nasty is developing at what was once seen as Europe's strongest financial institution. Its shares have been in free fall for a year, touching a new low of 10.5 euros on Monday, down from 27 euros a year ago. Over the weekend, the German Chancellor Angela Merkel waded into the mess, briefing that there could be no government bailout of the bank. But hold on, surely there's an extraordinary decision. If the German government does not stand behind the bank, then inevitably all its counterparties, the other banks and institutions it deals with, are going to start feeling very nervous about trading with it. As we know from 2008, once confidence starts to evaporate, a bank is in big, big trouble. In fact, if Deutsche does go down, it is looking increasingly like it will take Merkel with it, and quite possibly the euro as well. Deutsche Bank has been wobbly for a year now. Back in July, it announced a slump in profits and revenues. Back in February, the bank's co-CEO, John Cryan, put out a statement reassuring staff and investors that the institution was, quote, rock solid, amid an earlier slide in the share price. Anyone whose memory stretches back a whole 8 years will know that this is the kind of thing that bank CEOs say about 3 minutes before the whole thing goes pop. Ever since then, the news has gone from bad to worse. Deutsche has struggled to cut costs and restore profitability. Legal challenges have mounted. And then earlier this month, the U.S. Justice Department hit the bank with a $14 billion fine over the sale of mortgage securities. In its pomp, Deutsche could have written out a check with a nonchalant shrug. Right now, no one's sure where it can get the money from. The damage can be seen in its share price. Last October, the shares were 27 euros. Back in 2007, there were 100 euros. And even in the spring of 2009, when banks were crashing all over across the world, they were still trading at close to 17 euros. For the most of this year, they have been sliding fast. On Monday, they crashed again, down another 6 points. Its bonds has slumped as well, while the cost of credit default swaps, essentially a way of hedging against collapse, has jumped. It has a very 2008 feel to it. To make matters worse, the German government looks to have abandoned it to its grisly fate. An article in Focus magazine quoted senior officials as saying the German Chancellor Angela Merkel was adamant that the bank would not be rescued. There could be no state assistance if the bank was unable to raise the capital it needed to stay afloat, and she was not planning to intervene to get the American fine reduced. If it was in trouble, it was on its own. There is, of course, something to be said for a hardline position. It is hard to be sure the massive bank bailouts of 2008 were such a great idea. Perhaps we would be better off now if a few had been allowed to fail. That said, Merkel is surely playing with fire. In the markets, investors, along with other financial institutions, have rightly or wrongly come to assume that major banks are, as the saying has it, quote, too big to fail. You didn't really have to worry about how solid they were, because if the crunch came, the state would always ride to the rescue. In Germany, that appears not to be the case, certainly for Deutsche, and possibly for its next biggest player, Commerzbank, which is hardly looking much healthier. Would you want to trade a few billion with Deutsche right now? And would you feel sure you get paid next month? Nope, thought not. The risk is that confidence evaporates, and as we know, once that is gone, a bank is not long for this world. True, Merkel's position is understandable. The politics of Deutsche rescue are terrible. Germany, with its chancellor taking the lead, has set itself up as the guardian of financial responsibility within the Eurozone. 2 years ago, it casually let the Greek bank system go to the wall, allowing the cash machines to be closed down as a way of whipping the rebellious Syriza government back into line. This year, there has been an unfolding Italian crisis as bad debts mount, and yet Germany has insisted on enforcing Eurozone rules that say depositors, that is, ordinary people, have to shoulder some of the losses when the bank is in trouble. For Germany to then turn around and say, actually, we are bailing out our own banks while letting everyone else fail, looks, to put it mildly, just a little inconsistent. Heck, a few people might even start to wonder if there was one rule for Germany and another one for the rest. In truth, it would become impossible to maintain a hard line in Italy and probably in Greece as well. And yet, if Deutsche Bank went down and the German government didn't step in with a rescue, that would be a huge blow to Europe's largest economy and the global financial system. No one really knows where the losses would end up or what the knock-on impact would be. It would be almost certainly land a fatal blow to the Italian banking system, and the French and Spanish banks would be next. Even worse, the Eurozone economy, with France and Italy already back at zero growth and still struggling with the impact of Brexit, is hardly in any shape to withstand a shock of that magnitude. A rock in a hard place are hardly adequate to describe the options Merkel may soon find herself facing. The politics of a rescue are terrible, but the economics of a collapse are even worse. By ruling out a rescue, she may well have solved the immediate political problem. Yet when the crisis gets worse, as it may do at any moment, it is impossible to believe she will stick to that line. A bailout of some sort will be cobbled together, even if the damage to Merkel's already fraying reputation for competence will be catastrophic. In fact, Merkel is playing a very dangerous game with Deutsche, and one that should easily go badly wrong. If her refusal to sanction a bailout is responsible for a Deutsche collapse, that should easily end her chancellorship. But if she rescues it, the euro might start to unravel. It's hardly surprising that the markets are watching the relentless decline in its share price with mounting horror. Folks, it is upon us. It has been upon us for some time. But it's just slowly chipping away, isn't it? Just slowly chipping away. And while Americans have their head up whichever candidate's ass that they're going to vote for, the world is crumbling out there, folks, and no one is paying attention. Not many are paying attention, but I am. I'm paying attention. So if you like what I do, subscribe, comment, like an adult, click like on my videos, and share my videos. This is Shindo. Have a good evening.
This is my kingdom come. This is my kingdom come.